Hi everyone. Now before I get started, don't forget you can join the debate by jumping into the comment section below, or you can email us at youtube@republic.org.uk. I'm going to do another responding to your comments video very soon. Now quite often people tell me that the monarchy works, so why get rid of it? And I'm sure you've all heard the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now if that was true, monarchists might have a point, but it is broke and it can't be fixed. Now when I'm giving a speech at a university or doing an interview on TV, I try to get three basic points across. The monarchy is wrong in principle, it's bad for our politics, and the palace is up to no good. Now this is what I call the three P's: principle, politics and palace. So right now I want to tell you what I mean when I say the palace is up to no good. So the principled argument is pretty straightforward. The politics argument is about Britain's constitution, the concentration of power in the centre, and I've done another video on that just recently. But if we found a way to deal with those problems, the palace itself is simply not fit for purpose, and here's what I mean. First, it's worth looking at the standards that we should be able to expect of public bodies and public servants, whether that's people like MPs, civil servants, police officers, council officers, anyone employed to perform a public duty. Now back in the 80s and 90s there were a number of scandals involving MPs, such as the Cash for Questions affair, in which it was alleged that two MPs had taken bribes in exchange for asking questions in the House of Commons. Now that scandal led to the major government introducing the Committee on Standards in Public Life, which in turn published the Nolan principles, otherwise known as the 7 principles of public life. And those 7 principles are selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty and leadership. And that's how we can now judge any public body, including the monarchy. So here's what's wrong with the institution of the monarchy in real practical terms. Firstly, it is very secretive. Now Philip Murphy, the Director of Institute of Commonwealth Studies and Professor of British and Commonwealth History, he wrote an article in 2015 suggesting the monarchy is more secretive than MI5, and he said the majority of books about the contemporary monarchy bear a striking resemblance to the intelligence literature of the 1980s, meaning that the lack of real information led to a lot of speculation and guesswork. Now Ben McIntyre, columnist for The Times, he wrote in 2016 that the most prominent family in the world remains more secretive about its past than the security service, meaning MI5. Now the royals also abuse public money as a matter of habit, done as if it were the most normal thing to do, without any concern for the state of public finances. At least £345 million a year, including millions spent on private travel, private homes, excessive security, even for those no one has ever heard of, and much more besides. And there's always an excuse. A few years ago it was pointed out that Prince Charles had flown from London to Scotland for a 4-day trip, no public engagement, so it was a personal private holiday, a break in Balmoral. An estimated £30,000 or thereabouts was spent on this 4-day trip for Charles to Scotland. Now that's more money than a lot of people earn in a whole year. And when he was challenged by journalists, it was pointed out, well, he's always the Prince of Wales, therefore he's always on duty, and therefore the public's going to pick up the bill. And that kind of contemptuous response is what we get all the time to defend their public spending. And of course members of the family abuse their privileged positions to lobby in favour of their own interests and their political agendas, and for all I know maybe the interests of friends and business acquaintances as well. Now this is well documented with Charles, but it's not really believable that Andrew hasn't also been lobbying for his own interests and agenda. Now former PM John Major admitted that the Queen pressed him on various matters, and there have been suggestions over the years of royal lobbying to defend their interests and assets, particularly when it comes to things like the sovereign grant and freedom of information. As well as being highly secretive, abusing public money, abusing their positions of influence in order to lobby for their own interests, the monarchy is also a dishonest institution. Dishonest about what it does, about the value it offers the country, and how it spends our money. The royals rely on spin and misdirection to give the impression of an affordable institution. Now, whether that's claims to work hard, to be cost effective, or claiming that the duchy is a private property, or that the Crown Estate provides the sovereign grant. And the monarchy resists accountability and makes no effort to accommodate the wishes of our elected MPs. They are very reluctant to provide full details of expenditure or to answer in full the questions and challenges put to them by MPs in the past. They have resisted parliamentary calls to open the palace to tourists all year round and spent 10 years fighting attempts to access Prince Charles's letters. And then the royals are routinely hypocritical, telling others to do one thing while failing to live up to their public statements. The most obvious example being their extravagant travel at the expense of the environment while lecturing the world on climate change. And the most farcical example of this was Prince Charles flying by helicopter to Cambridge to speak to climate scientists about the urgency of protecting the planet. So where does that leave the royals in terms of the standards in public life, those standards that every other public employee must adhere to? Well, number one was selflessness. The holders of public office should take decisions solely in terms of the public interest, yet the royals insist on secrecy to protect themselves from scrutiny. They insist on excessive funding to ensure they can live the lives that they are accustomed to, and they refuse to open Buckingham Palace to tourists all year round, despite such a decision clearly being in the public interest. Their focus is on their interest without any concern for the public. Number two on the list of principles is integrity. Now, holders of public office must avoid placing themselves under any obligation to people or organisations that might try inappropriately to influence them in their work. They should not act or take decisions in order to gain financial or other material benefits for themselves, their family, or their friends. They must declare and resolve any interests and relationships. The royal household is awash with examples where they fail to pass the integrity test, whether it's lobbying for better protection from scrutiny, refusing to pay taxes others have to pay, making excuses about the widespread abuse of public money. There is no integrity in a wasteful, secretive institution. The third principle is objectivity. Holders of public office must act and take decisions impartially, fairly, and on merit, using the best evidence and without discrimination or bias. Now, there aren't actually that many decisions for the royals to take, but those they do take are always shaped by their own interests or own agenda, whether it's choosing what charities to support, how to spend public money, or whether or not to interfere in politics and on what issues. The fourth principle is accountability. Holders of public office are accountable for their decisions and actions to the public and must submit themselves to the scrutiny necessary to ensure this. Now, of course, this is one of the biggest failures of all when it comes to the royals. They are never accountable for anything. Whatever they do, they will be free to do it again tomorrow. Even when you're accused of serious crimes, there is no expectation that you do anything else other than defend yourself, even if that means failing to cooperate with law enforcement. Number 5 is openness. Holders of public office should act and take decisions in an open and transparent manner. Information should not be withheld from the public unless there are clear and lawful reasons for doing so. Now, as I said, the royal household is very secretive. The withholding of information by the royals may be lawful, but there are no good, clear reasons for it. Number 6 is honesty. Holders of public office should be truthful. The royals are dishonest in their excuses for public spending, dishonest in how their public spending works, and resort to spin rather than create an open relationship with the public and the press. And number 7 is leadership. Holders of public office should exhibit these principles in their own behaviour. They should actively promote and robustly support the principles and be willing to challenge poor behaviour wherever it occurs. Now, there is no leadership from the monarchy. They promote themselves at the expense of the country. They lecture all of us, then do as they please, particularly when it comes to the environment and animal welfare. The Queen has even abdicated all responsibility for her constitutional functions, but rather than accepting that her constitutional role is no longer tenable in a modern democracy, she instead insists on keeping her position while refusing to do the work. Now, the Queen has made it absolutely clear over the past 10 years that she won't be getting involved in any constitutional matters, but still she insists on the position, the title, and all the privileges that go with it. Now, the anti-corruption organisation Transparency International defines corruption as the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. Now, this doesn't have to be illegal activity if those seen to be corrupt have the power to shape the laws to suit their interests. How is the monarchy, which routinely abuses its position for private gain, not corrupt under this definition? One form of corruption Transparency International mentions is nepotism, which they define as a form of favouritism based on acquaintances and familiar relationships whereby someone in an official position exploits his or her power and authority to provide a job or favour to a family member or friend, even though he or she may not be qualified or deserving. Now, this is the modus operandi of the royal family. It is how monarchy works. Jobs, titles and honours, not to mention medals and ranks in our armed forces, handed out to family members by the Queen. Yet we all turn a blind eye because we're so used to it that we don't see it for what it is, which is nepotism. Now, whatever else you might think about the Constitution, democratic principles or other arguments for the monarchy, clearly the royal household is not fit for purpose. It is secretive, it abuses public money, exploits their positions to lobby politicians behind closed doors. It is the definition of nepotism and misappropriates jobs, titles, ranks and status that has not been earned. The monarchy fails on the basic test of meeting the standards of public life, and these standards are the minimum we should respect, yet they fail on selflessness, on integrity or objectivity. They fail on accountability, openness, honesty and leadership. Now, with democracy should come accountability, openness, transparency and, above all, choice. We can choose who our head of state can be. We can demand the very highest standards, and if our head of state falls short of those standards, we'll know about it and we can do something about it. So if you don't think the principled argument is worth worrying about, if you don't think our constitution is much of a problem, then it is still clear that the monarchy is not an institution fit for a modern democratic nation such as Britain. And we deserve so much better because we are a great country, we have so much potential, we have so many people that we could choose from who have integrity, who work hard, who would be honest and open, and the system would help keep them that way, even if they aren't quite what we thought they were when we elected them. You know, it's not difficult to see that there is a modern, democratic, accountable alternative to this bizarre system where we allow this one family to take us as fools, to treat us like mugs. So that's it from me for now. Don't forget to head over to republic.org.uk if you want to find out more about Republic, about the issues and how you can join or donate. Also, don't forget, jump in the comments section, tell me what you think. Well, I'll be doing more videos on responding to your comments very soon. Or you can email me at youtube@republic.org.uk. Bye for now.